Welcome, students. Today we are going to learn a beautiful poem, The Fly of Class 5, subject English. The poet of this poem is Walter de la Mare. At first, we discuss about the word meaning of this poem. Now we proceed to the summary, and after that we will read the poem text by text. So, see the word meanings. Prickle. It means thorn, kanta, spear. A type of dagger. It means bhala, barchi. Dewdrop, fog, ओस की बूंद, a drop of dew, ओस की बूंद. Fierce, भयानक, horrible. Lofty heel, very high heels. Cruel, unpleasant, brutal, and निर्दयी. Specs, a very small amount, a bit, a little bit. Lambkins, a young lamb. Shepherd, herdsman, it means charwaha. So this is the word meaning of this chapter. Please write down the word meaning. Okay. Now we will see the summary of this chapter. The poem The Fly, written by a poet named Walter de la Mare. In this poem, the speaker draw a comparison between himself and a fly, मक्खी. पोएट अपने और मक्खी के बीच में एक कंपैरिजन कर रहा है. क्या कंपैरिजन कर रहे हैं? This poem is about how the world looks different to a fly and different to in our perspective, in our view. The speaker emphasizes on the beauty of the things around us. The poet also talks about the size of the object, size of the things that looks small to a fly and bigger, very bigger to a fly and small to for us. The poet talks about the size of the thing. Those look small to us and are huge to the fly. This poem is totally about how normal and everyday objects must look very different to a tiny creature like a fly. And the poet also invite us to consider the beauty and the enormity of both the natural things and man-made things, and also the size of the things that matters only for our perspective, only for our views. That is, what things small to us, that particular things is larger or huge to the fly. Okay, so this is the summary of this poem. Now we will look the stanza of this poem text by text. So this poem is totally about the size of matters, which is small to a fly and bigger, which is bigger to a fly and smaller for us. So let's start the poem. Please take out your textbook. How large unto the tiny fly must little things appear! Exclamation sign, exclamatory sign. In these two lines, the poet, the speaker, introduces his main idea with an exclamatory point. After the word appear, there is an exclamatory point, and the poet said that everything must look so huge to a little fly and smaller for a human being, for us. a rosebud. And also the poet give example that which one is smaller to us and bigger for a fly. Like a rosebud, like a feather bed. It sprinkle like a spear. A flower is the size of a furniture for a fly. Flower feather bed, it means a bed. A flower is the size of furniture to the fly, and a little thorn, a little prickle on a flower is like an enormous weapon. It's like an huge, terrible weapons for a fly. Okay. Now proceeding to the second stanza. A dewdrop like a looking glass, a hair like a golden wire, the smallest grain of mustard seed, as fierce as coal of fire. Fierce, it means horrible, hanker. So, in the second stanza, poet lists three more objects and also describe what they must look like to the fly. Like a dewdrop, a drop of dew. Oski booth is like a full-sized mirror to look into the fly. It means a dewdrop, a drop of dew, like a full-sized mirror for a fly to look into it. A piece of hair is like a shining thread, and the smallest, a tiny size mustard seed, seems to have a size and strength of chunk of burning coal. Chunk, it means tukra, a piece. It means the poet described that a small size grains look like a small size, a chunk of burning coal for a fly. So these three images, like what? Like dewdrop, like hair, like small mustard seed, take the tiny object around us and bring our view so close to the perspective, to the view of a fly, that they become a terrible, a powerful weapon for the life of a fly, but it is just a normal thing for us. It is a symbol of beauty for us, but it is symbol of a terrible thing, a terrible weapon, a powerful weapon for a fly. Now, finally, the third stanza said, a loaf of bread, a lofty heel, a wasp, a cruel leopard, and specks of salt as bright to see as lambkins to a shepherd. In the last and final stanza, third stanza, the poet lists three more things to compare the size of fly and the size of things, like food, a loaf of bread ka tukra, it is example of food. Food can look like a huge landscape, look like a huge large area for a fly. Another thing, a insect like wasp and a cruel animal like a leopard can be proved as a terrible predator for a fly. Like predator, it means हिंसक जानवर. Terrible, it means बहुत ही disastrous. Poet said that a wasp, which looked like a small insect for us, but it looked like enormous predator for a fly. A leopard, it looked like a huge, a terrible, a vast predator for a fly. Nirdayi, cruel, brutal leopard looks like a very terrible thing for a fly, to a fly. And specks, it means a small amount of something. A specks of salt, it means small amount of salt, which looks so bright, so beautiful, so useful for us. The poet said, little grain of salt, a little amount of salt can seem as dear as baby lambs. So, this is the last stanza of this poem, and we see three more comparison, like bread looks like a landscape, a lofty hill, a large area to a fly, insects like a terrible predator to a fly, and a small amount of salt is very dear, seems as dear as a lamb, baby lambs. So these final images shows us how valuable our food is, and how lucky we are to have the advantage of these size of particular things. But these size of things become fears for some creature like a fly, like other insects, like as similar size to a fly, it becomes more fierce, it becomes powerful, it becomes terrible to that kind of creature, to that size of creature. So this is the poem of Walter de la Mare, and Walter de la Mare also wrote many poems, but his poem is mainly for the children's. So, this is the poem we learned in this class. So, please do the exercise question of this poem. And yes, have a good day. Thank you.